3, 2, wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, get yourselves together. Start a minute. Is student language ready?
Yeah, I think I'm actually, it's alright. I think. Well. When you're on.
Okay, everybody set?
Yeah.
Okay, come then into the gates of the city. Okay, here we go. And shifting, goes the other. And Fortress of Mirrors. right back a little. Stop. Good. And Eric, right back a little. Stop. Good. And Martin, right front. Stop. Great. Lovely. Good. Good, hold it there. And into the sandstorm, nice and smooth. Good, and get ready for tracking shot. Good, loop right back a little. Good. And here we go, lost in the desert. Go. Right back a little. Good. Right back a little. Right back a little. Good. Good. Right back a little. And stop. And the fainting in the desert. Good, and circling. Into Rosalie. Good. And into the close-up at the oasis. Good, and right back. And stop. And into the first menage. Good, so loop. Left back a little. Left front. Good.
Is there any chance of a glass of water? Is that alright? I'm just completely parched.
Hi, Pablo. Thank you, that was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It's a pity you're taking the bronze makeup off. What kind of mood are you in after you've done a performance like that?
I get really bloody moody.
Do you?
Yeah.
So you still going to answer some questions for us coming in?
Yeah, maybe. No, I will, yeah. No, I'm all right today, actually. It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You feel happy with it, or is it too early to reflect on it as yet?
God. Well, it might be a little...
We'll let you watch it first online.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I enjoyed it, for sure. It was
Yeah.
really fun putting it together.
No, it looked absolutely brilliant, the way you distorted the whole room using the mirrors. We've got some questions coming in.
Yeah.
There's one here from Claire Adams that relates to the architecture and the mirrors. She's saying the physical site, the architecture and perspective seems central to this piece. How has the online site influenced producing this piece? I guess how have you brought those two things together?
Well, one of the things that is difficult to do when it's a live performance with a very limited budget is to create quite impressive optical effects. Whereas when you're doing something online or for a camera somewhere and your audience is on the other side of that, sticking a mirror up against the lens is already a very, very large distortion. So in a way, it was like a sort of... doing something online means that you can play more with a magic box, you know.
So you can exaggerate the special effects more effectively.
You can create special effects out of nothing, out of 6 bits of perspex.
I mean, this whole room, it's a very simple setup that we offered you that was just the room and a single camera. So actually, I think it's impressive the way you've conjured those effects. So that seem, baroque out of very simple means, just 4 mirrored columns and a mirror at the back. There's another question here. Do you consider being able to see the camera crew as part of the piece, the kind of watchers watching as a part of the performance, that reflexiveness?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sticking a mirror in front of a camera is a device that surrealists have used, and also then people like Dan Graham, I think Bruce Nauman's done stuff. And so it is about sort of confronting that gaze, refracting it, challenging it, queering it in a way, but with something that is about vanity and narcissism. But at the same time, I think that whenever you look at something online, you basically look at what you want to find. It's not like paying your quid and going to see a film in the 1920s and whatever was on the cinema was on the cinema. I think now people, when they shop around on YouTube, they shop around as a form of narcissism.
So were you making something on YouTube that you wanted to see? I mean, in a way you could say that's what an artist does. make the work that you want to see. But how is that? Does the YouTube context change that for you? You think it exaggerates that?
Well, I guess I look at a lot of stuff on YouTube. I look at a lot of stuff that was around in this piece. I like a lot of the sort of grand, highly camped ballets of the Russian and French traditions, and I love the way that they were done in the 60s. And so a lot of the sort of refracted with someone dressed in this sort of vaguely Ottomanish Turkish fantasy dress is part of I guess how I've shopped around on YouTube.
Yeah.
Chopping and changing with these fantasy ballet sections from Le Corsaire and Scheherazade and various bits and pieces.
And I was thinking also of certain performance artists from the 60s, like Joan Jonas, actually, who made a piece, one of her early pieces using mirrors in a similar way. Or you mentioned Dan Graham, performer audience mirror, but I was wondering how much that comes into your thinking, or not consciously as a reference.
It's sort of there. I mean, if you go to art school, it's drilled into you, but then you'll spend a good amount of time running away from Dan Graham. And so...
he'd never wear this costume.
You might do. Actually, no, you won't. I think what tends to happen in my work is that I suppress the stuff that I really like, whether it's grand classical ballet or whether it's chinoiserie or whatever it might be, and then it just resurfaces when I least expect it, like now.
Yeah. How important are, I mentioned the costume then, which is a fantastic costume, and your turban. How important is costume in your work? Because your work normally involves drawing, painting, architecture and performance, and you also use video. But this is a designed element that comes in. Do you design them yourself, or?
I bloody killed for a glass of water. Did someone bring one on?
Someone was bringing you one.
There's just am I allowed to grab? I'm just going to grab it. Fuck it, I'm absolutely parched.
It's hot in here under the Turkish
boiling.
sun.
These lights are a killer. Sorry. So basically, the costume is something that I sort of outsourced in a way, because what's tended to happen with something like this is that there are so many bits and pieces that I work with really trusted friends like Matthias, who you will have seen drilling the troops, as it were, and my friend Clea Broad, who we sit down and we discuss how my images, and I say vaguely Turkish, Mozart Turkish, whatever, Ottoman fantasy 1930s, and then we come up with our designs and we go backwards and forwards. Costumes, I guess, have started off becoming, well, they've gone from being the thing that I didn't think about and would just dress a dancer up in a neon green unitard just for the fuck of it, and they've gone from these easy postmodern references to being things that I guess feel more like sculptures. But we'll see, because it's early days. I'm really rubbish with costumes.
I think they're great. Did you train as a dancer? Well, someone's asking, did you train as a dancer yourself?
No. No, I'm interested in dance through painting. I'm interested in images of dancers, but no. I like sprezzatura, this sort of codified system of bodily elegance, but I guess you can learn as much about that from looking at, the Sistine Chapel ceiling or, the Mona Lisa as you can from going and being shouted at because your calves are too whatever.
But you've kind of incorporated that into your work when you play the choreographer, play the person instructing, which you often reveal, as you did today with Matthias.
Yes. Yes. In a way, what we had there was a series of performances within the performances. Matthias was performing, telling the dancers what to do, but in actual fact, these dancers are very, very good, and if you just tell them to go, they will do exactly what they did, whether Matthias says things to them or not. So Matthias is in on the game, and he choreographs and helps me to realise this according to knowing that he's within the piece, within the performance.
Yeah. I'm afraid the names of the people asking questions aren't coming through, but is this the first time you've appeared in one of your performances? Someone's asked.
No.
I've seen you in one before.
Yes,
one or two.
I do appear in them, but never where I've got to really remember steps. And it's bloody terrifying, honestly. Even the stuff that I did, which was like the stuff a 5-year-old could do, got terrifying.
What is it about dance you like, though? I mean, in relation to an art practice that does come out of drawing to begin with?
Well, I guess initially I was interested in dance partly because of this sprezzatura idea, which seemed to connect.
What's that? Can you explain?
Sprezzatura is this codified system of movement that is about appearing like you're effortless and like you're elegant, but actually you're really straining to do it, so that there are particular poses or gestures that seem very, very relaxing that are absolutely, they're very tough to do. And this is a system that was used throughout the Renaissance and Baroque period to conjure up aristocracy and superiority and money and wealth and power and all these sorts of things. And it slowly got codified into classical ballet. So within classical ballet there is still the desire to appear like you're not making a great deal of effort when in fact you are, or that you're staying off the ground for longer than you actually are, So I was interested in sprezzatura, I guess, as a political thing.
How do you mean? So as a class thing? Or?
Well, because of its opposition to what we call pedestrian. What we would.
You mean like Yvonne Rayner's dances in the 1960s that used walking and very flat kind of movements?
Exactly. To juxtapose what has passed as genuine, relaxed, normal behaviour,
authentic behaviour.
Exactly, to something that is highly artificial now, but was considered perfectly natural in the 17th and 16th century. And
so that idea of naturalness has shifted. I mean, it's
shifted. It's become dirtied somehow. It's something that is seen as queer or as hysterical or as psychotic or as perverse or as old-fashioned as in classical ballet. So. Yeah, I was interested in that, and then I was also interested in the ability to draw lines on the floor with dancers, to create spaces the way I could do on a page, to have something in the foreground, something in the background, and to with your eye draw the line and create and see these differences in between. But in a way, we started to think about performance together, didn't we? Because we'd created this. I'd created, along with an architect, we'd created this sort of piazza environment. And at some point or other, you asked.
I'm sure it wasn't my fault.
Exactly, your response. There was this perfect environment, and you wondered who would inhabit this, and so that was the beginning of finding an ideal citizen, or ideal person for these.
You're talking about the piece you made in the Tate Triennial in 2006. 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you created a piazza in the Devine Galleries at Tate Britain, and you had Baroque dancers walking up and down in configurations across this void that you designated.
That's right, yes. The void was a sort of clearing out of a lot of the institutional junk or necessary accoutrements that come with a triennial, like the shop, the coffee shop, the orientation, the books, the artist stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so this was a sort of a demarcated space for walking and being somehow. And so you wondered along with me how. Yeah,
you'd made that kind of fictional zone in the middle of the museum, in the heart of it, which was kind of seen by the museum as a navigation point, but you turned it or détourned it into this performative space. And actually that comes back to one of the questions. I was going to say, maybe you could say something about how you started off studying architecture, because somebody's asked, what is your ideal space to perform in? Do you have an ideal space?
No, so you have to make it, and you can't afford to demolish a whole shanty town and erect a palace, so you do it with mirrors.
You were given a small room, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
You expected bigger and you made it bigger.
No, exactly. Well, to be honest, one of the reasons why I stopped studying architecture, by the way, I studied it for 3 weeks,
Okay.
no more than that. But one of the reasons why I stopped is because I'm not interested in a sort of elaborate negotiation with a client, with finding out what is real and how it can become real.
You wanted to create these impossible spaces you could only really make in art and theatre.
Exactly, yeah.
There's another question here from the Hunger column. Is the person calling out directions improvising, and how scripted is it? That's Matthias.
Semi-scripted, semi-improvised. By the time we've basically done this enough times that Matthias knows what he's going to say when he's going to say it. But he's an experienced performer and choreographer, and so he's able to know my parameters and work within those. We talk about what words are said, for sure.
And what could you say about the dynamics of a performance that's created for camera? I mean, you said something at the beginning, but how do you feel about the fact that there isn't a live audience here who you can see their reaction? Does that bother you at all? Or in a way, the piece had such a solipsistic air about it, this idea that it seemed like it was all your dream, that maybe not having a live audience made sense. I don't know. Yeah,
I think so. And in a way, I think that if there were a live audience, the mechanics, the pressure of creating these illusions would have been so great that the sort of sweet and slightly naive 1930s budget sort of film crap quality about what we've done would have been lost, because we would have had to have huge machines moving stuff around so that people wouldn't have seen the edges of the mirrors and so on.
Yeah, no, it's quite Prospero and the Tempest, like conjured out of thin air. I think we've got time for just 2 more questions that are coming in. There's one from Erin Lindstrom that's, how does this performance impact your current work, I guess your work in other media? How do you see it as exploratory or a return to something you started with?
This is high camp, I think, and it refers back to an early love of mine, Jack Smith, and so I feel that it's like squeezing a zit that I've wanted to squeeze for a long time. I think I'll be doing more stuff like this, for sure. I mean, the scope to do this, these opportunities are rare, and so you sort of have to make them yourself. But I think I want my future performances to have slightly more romance and trashiness and desperation.
More like this.
More like this, yeah. I'm sick of straight lines and people just walking.
So this is, it really was exploring something new in a direction that you want to follow up on.
I think so. Yeah.
That's good. Just one more question here. Someone's asking what happens to the live stream after? I guess, how do you see the document after? Did it matter to you that it was live at the time?
Well, it's very, very important that it is a live piece, because if something like this is over-perfected, it will lose its charm, I think. There was an accident with one of the mirrors you probably saw, and in rehearsal there were accidents and sometimes there weren't, and so if this was a video piece, we would just be doing this again and again until we got it to a sort of perfect state, and I think that would kill it. Yeah.
Well, it was fantastic. Thank you so much for making the work and for answering everybody's questions that people have sent in.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. You can have some more water.